the economic situation which is paralyzed by the economic policy which is called the ZIG policy. A ZIG policy which they lie that it's a currency which is backed by gold, which is a big lie. The currency is never found in these streets. In these streets, the only man that circulates is the US dollar and the rand. The ZIG is nowhere to be found. The ZIG policy has actually destroyed the industries of Zimbabwe. There is no production in the industries of Zimbabwe. What is left are these imports. Everything we are seeing in this, almost everything, is imports from South Africa. Chicken cars, some snacks, be it potatoes. Everything you see here is imports from South Africa. Our Zimbabweans are surviving on this small economy. This is the same Zimbabweans. When we are outside, we say South Africans are nothing. They are helping us with nothing. As we survive, and we depend on them to such an extent. So that's why I'm saying, fellow Zimbabwe, instead of attacking South Africans, we must actually uniting. We must actually be requesting South Africans to assist us in this plight home, and to assist us in speaking out against these ills of the economy of Zimbabwe, so that this government is either this government reforms or either they step down democratically as enshrined in our constitution if they have failed. Section 59 guides for demonstrations if ever our economy is destroyed like this. This is the same government which is extending the term limit for Mr. Mnangagwa. They want to make sure they remain destroying this economy. As you know, them are busy investing with the Chinese, taking all the minerals, and they're taking these minerals outside, the raw materials outside of our Zimbabwe, impoverishing Zimbabwe to this level. They tell you that they are for Africa. They are not for Africa. They are actually selling Africa to the highest bidder. So that's why I'm saying the youth of Africa, the youth of Zimbabwe, this is the time you must take charge of and be in control of your own country. We start by speaking out against the ills which you see on a daily basis. There is no way we can run. We've run all over this world looking for jobs, looking for what? The only place we can make jobs and make the economy work is our land, Zimbabwe. We can't be made to run away from our motherland by those men who went to our fathers to war to remove a bad system of white minority in the name of saving us. Then today they've turned to be the colonizers of the same land. So fellow Zimbabweans, we must resist the system of Mnangagwa, resist the 2030 agenda, no to 2030 agenda. The constitution was made by Zimbabweans. It was not made by a few, the Ziyambis and their fellow crooks, their fellow Jonathan Moyos who wants to come back by selling Zimbabwe again to the highest bidder, because he is used to doing that with his Mugabe. During Mugabe's time, he was the one who was orchestrating the evil of Mugabe, and he wants to also orchestrate this evil being planned in our land with Mnangagwa. Fellow Zimbabweans, let's unite and speak out. Fellow Zimbabweans, let's unite. No to 2030 agenda. This is an agenda to destroy Zimbabwe by a few under the ZANU-PF banner. The selfish, egocentric old men must be stopped, fellow Zimbabweans. Let's speak out in all angles. Whatever is at our disposal to speak out, let's speak out.
That is the only man in Zimbabwe. That is the only Zimbabwean man that exists. If there are more, show yourselves. I call him a man because I've been very critical on my channel of African men who, I said it yesterday, the symbol of success to an African man is his ability to run away from his father's land to go find greener pastures in another man's land, a land that another man has built, established, developed. The African man's symbol of success, ultimate success for an African man, is when they flee to another man's country to seek greener pastures. You see the African man swimming across oceans to go and reap where he has not sown. And I've called this out several times and said that this is not how we should view success. Success is staying in your father's land, building, developing, going through the tough times, going through the times where things seem hopeless, but you stick around to figure it out. So I've been very critical of people that, when times are rough, they don't stay and try to figure things out in their father's land. Instead, they run away to seek greener pastures. And I've said that I don't have any respect for that because I think as a man, you should be able to stick it out during the tough times and figure out solutions so that the next generation doesn't have to suffer the way that you suffered. All of this implies that you have to basically stay home, defend your father's land, and figure out solutions where you were born, where you're from, where your cultural group is, or the homeland of your cultural group. I have a lot of respect for the Zimbabwean man because he came out and told the truth. Not the sponsored opinions of the likes of Rutendo and other Zimbabwean content creators whose jobs we don't really know what they do exactly. We just know that they're being sponsored by ZANU PF to spread globalist propaganda about one Africa, about African unity. All that is sponsored by the global elites. The global elites are pushing towards Agenda 2030. I've said it so many times. Hence why I need to get in touch with the Zimbabwean man because I believe that the true definition of unity is uniting behind a common goal or cause without abandoning or losing your integrity, without losing your culture, without losing who you are. So I don't believe in this nonsense of African unity just for the sake of it, because a lot of it is embroiled in deception. There are some people who are part of the globalist agenda who want to see this whole one Africa thing come to fruition for no other reason except one, their personal gain, because a lot of them are too ignorant to understand that Agenda 2030 is going to take away everybody's freedom except the world elites, the one percenters. So it's nothing to get behind. If people understood what one Africa means, because it's going to be one Africa. After one Africa, it's going to be one world. Then we've now stepped into the new world order before you've even known it. We're now in the new world order, and you're going to wonder, how did we get there? Well, we got there in stages. First, we had our indigenous cultural groups with our indigenous land and territory. Then we were co-opted into this idea of countries. We bought into the idea of countries and abandoned many of our indigenous cultures. Some of them survived, most of them died out, including the languages, traditions, customs, and practices. We bought into the whole one country identity. They gave us a flag, a coat of arms, currencies, and then politicians, and then told us that the government is there to serve our interests. We believed it. We fell for it. We bit the bait. Afterwards, now they're moving from countries to one Africa or continent, a continental identity. They're going to give you a nice little flag, a nice little continental anthem, make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside and patriotic about the one Africa thing, one Asia, one America, as they're building towards what? A new world order. And the way to do that is to collate, bring together all these different cultural groups and amalgamate them into one continental identity with one language, which means languages will die by force. Hey, if only you guys understood what all of this unity, continental unity, what the implications behind it truly are. You guys, a lot of you guys don't get it. You think, oh, this is about us coming together. Yes, that's how they're selling it to you. Obviously, they have to sell it to you like that so that you buy in. But that could not be further from the truth. of what they're actually doing. So every now and again, when you meet like minded people that understand what is going on and the deep implications of what is being told to us, people like this Zimbabwean gentleman that's talking about Agenda 2030 and how he's trying his best to play his part to wake people up in Zimbabwe, I have the utmost respect for a man like this because while most Zimbabwean men are running away from their father's land, running away from the responsibility of defending and protecting their father's land, he's in Zimbabwe on the ground facing the challenges, coming up with solutions, encouraging other people to do the same because it's a team sport. And one thing about a team sport, you always have to defend your home ground. You can't lose on your homeland. You can't let these colonizers come in. And the colonizer has no race, guys. We're talking global elites. It's not a race thing, it's not a black or white thing. No, this is much more complex than that. Right? So these global elites, with their politician puppets, are there to ensure that Agenda 2030 takes place. And one of the things, one of the systems that's integral to Agenda 2030 is installing this digital ID. This digital ID is basically digital ID is one of the key infrastructures that's necessary to ensuring that Agenda 2030 takes place, right? So, yeah, I need to get in touch with this Zimbabwe man. If anybody knows who he is, so we can get in touch because our goals are the same for our countries. We got to make sure we stop Agenda 2030 from taking place. We got to inform enough people to understand what is really going on with this whole African unity thing. It's a lot more complex than people are being made to believe. They're being told that, oh, South Africans are xenophobic. I'm glad that this man sees through all that bogus nonsense and he's calling it out and saying, no, this thing is not about all these narratives about xenophobia. There's a lot more going on. So credit to him. But yeah, credit to him. And he's showing that Zimbabwe right now, the politicians are telling lies about how there's new currency that's backed by gold. He's like, dude, on the ground, the currencies that are being used are the American dollar and the South African rand. Look at all the informal trading that's taking place there on the streets. But you listen to people like Rutendo, propagandists like Rutendo, who are part of the globalist elites, the ZANU PF elites. They'll come on here and tell you how well Zimbabwe is doing and all the deals that Zimbabwe is signing, etc., as a sort of a smokescreen to take your attention away from what's really going on because they don't want people asking too many questions. They don't want people getting too inquisitive about these subjects, right? They prefer for people to be ignorant and for us South Africans to be gaslit. Because look, as South Africans, we see what's happening on the ground. Zimbabweans are streaming in their millions. You cannot tell me that that's a government that's doing well or that that's a government that represents the interests of their people. Come on, bro. We're not stupid. We know that the government is ill treating the people because we see them coming in to our country for basic services like giving birth. Because the mortality rate for pregnant women during labor is quite high in Zimbabwe. So their safest option is to give birth in South Africa. Now, of course, as South Africans, that's none of our business. That has nothing to do with us. The men of Zimbabwe must sort out these problems and not make us inherit their problems forcefully. We did not sign up or volunteer to be the ones to help Zimbabwe solve these issues. So they've got to figure it out. Unfortunately, this is just how the cookie crumbles. And it's not being mean or being xenophobic, it's being realistic. We don't have capacity to solve the problems of the entire continent. But what we can do, if we're all committed in our individual countries to fight the good fight and sacrifice our lives for our freedom and the freedom of our children, we can work together to create structures that empower all of us in our respective countries, because that's what we need now. We have to start thinking outside the box. We have to start organizing ourselves and creating structures that are basically parallel governments that can help us have a degree of autonomy and independence to be able to fend for ourselves, defend ourselves. Because right now we're sitting ducks. We are at the mercy of corrupt governments who have already put systems in place to oppress us indefinitely, mercilessly, and there's nothing we can do about it. Why? Because structures have been put in place that make it basically impossible for us to push back against them, right? So, what that looks like for us is a very bleak picture unless we do something about it. This is what men are supposed to do. I'm going to need African men to be leaders. I'm going to need African men to step into their roles and to stop being scared and fearful. Yes, protests and things like that, they're good. But I would like to see those things being spearheaded more by our women, the women in our countries. Men need to be on the ground, guys. African men need to be on the ground. African men need to be hands on. Read between the lines. You got bandits in Nigeria that are going door to door, kidnapping people, harassing people, unaliving farmers, right? Unaliving all the skilled food producers in the country, which is a part of the globalist agenda. They're trying to create a food crisis by eliminating farmers. Farm attacks are real, yes, but it's not race based, like what the Afrikaners are trying to say in South Africa, because black farmers are being killed too. It's a part of Agenda 2030, and this is being sponsored by governments. This is happening all over the world, guys. It's not a race based thing. It's a globalist thing that needs to be seen in the correct light and not a racial light. All these notions and ideas about race are old, guys. They're outdated. You guys need to start seeing the world for what it really is. You've been so programmed by politics to view the world according to the lens of race, and that's not what's actually happening in the world. The world is not ran by racial groups, it's ran by world elites, black or white. Some of these people are not even fully human. Some of these people have been microchipped already. We are dealing with something scarier than what people are ready to admit. It's going to require brave, bold men, which Africa at the moment, dot, dot, dot. Some things, TikTok is going to ban me for telling the truth. But African men, you know yourselves. But anyway, I'm speaking because I know I'm going to find a few of you who are brave, who are bold, who don't just want to talk on social media, but that who are on the ground, active in their communities, active in enforcing the law. Remember, politicians and the government are not enforcing the law, and this is deliberate. It's not an accident. It's by design. It's by design. So laws are deliberately not being enforced. They're there on paper, but it's either your governments are misinterpreting the laws deliberately or not enforcing them. And That is very frustrating because it feels like you're being gaslit, which is exactly what they're doing. The laws are there to give you a false sense of security, guys. At the end of the day, the enforcement is a totally different story, and they're not being enforced. You guys are working to pay taxes for governments that are not serving you. And mind you, they don't even need your tax, they can just print money. You're basically working for free. It's slavery. They've created the impression that slavery has ended and that we're actually free. We're not. Irrespective of your race, unless you're part of those elites, you are a slave. Modern day slavery just doesn't feel like it. Why do you think they're moving everybody out from the farmlands into the CBD areas, into these shoebox apartments? These are the new concentration camps. These CBD apartments are concentration camps. They've moved you away from areas where you can fend for yourself, farmlands and farm areas where you can grow your own food, where you can be independent of the government. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to have resources for yourself. They don't want you being able to fend and provide for yourself. Oh no, they don't want that. So they've done everything they can to quote unquote create economic opportunities in the city, to force this mass migration into these prisons, these CBD concentration camps, these shoebox apartments where you're paying an exorbitant amount for rent. Again, it's deliberate to make sure that you don't have any expendable income to spend on things that could potentially bring about a revolution. Men should be spending their money on things like weapons, security, etc. But instead, men are in the club popping bottles and spending money on girls so that those girls can spend money on what? Luxury items like handbags, purses, makeup, clothes, hair, lipstick, cars, right? Because it's a cycle of consumerism. That's what's been promoted on television as culture, right? Going to the club, popping bottles, buying girls, flying girls out just to have intercourse with them. This is what has been promoted as living it up, as being lit, as being rich, right? Spending ridiculous amounts of money on food, but not being able to have food security, not being able to produce food for your own community. But you go to fancy restaurants to go spend, I mean, thousands of rands on food, but you have zero food security, zero water security. When a crisis hits, you're affected just like everybody else, unless your name is Panyaza Lusufi and you can check into a hotel to take a shower. But I promise you, your riches and your money will not save you during this time of the New World Order. It won't save you, especially because they're trying to digitize everything and create a cashless society. You guys, you understand the implications of this? A cashless society means that everything, the value of life, is numbers on a screen, algorithms. The value of your entire life is numbers on a screen. They can delete, they can erase, they can block, they can alter your entire existence based on numbers on a screen, guys. Value, intrinsic value in material things, tangible things will no longer exist. Things will be able to be altered digitally online in the blink of an eye, in a split second. Money can be erased, money can be created. That's what banks do. That's what reserve banks do. Creating things out of thin air, right? So currently we're prisoners of a system, a corrupt system. And we are being made to fight senseless battles that are distractions from what the global elites are doing. They want us turning on one another, which we should not do. But that is not an excuse for foreigners to come into South Africa to commit crime and to destabilize our country. We will not allow that. Each man must stay in their father's land and defend their father's land. That's the honorable thing to do. I know you guys don't understand what honor means because to you, your definition of honor is chasing the bag, getting money. You guys don't care about honor because your fathers didn't teach you how to be honorable men. Your fathers taught you and your mothers taught you how to cheat, find shortcuts to success at the expense of your community. Listen, you are nothing without your community. The one thing you must respect more than anything in life is your community uh, because without your community, guys, life is kind of scary. All right, because people need to rely on one another to get anywhere in life. And the day you guys abandon and neglect community is the day you will suffer as a community. I'm telling you, your community is everything. This is why the globalists have worked so hard to separate us from one another, to separate us from one another, right? To isolate us, to divide us. Why? We're easier to conquer when we're divided. Now, that does not mean African unity. That's not what I'm saying. Listen very closely. You in your country, as a man that's fighting to defend your father's land, me as a man fighting to defend my father's land in South Africa, our goals are the same, but we're playing different positions. Do you understand? We're united in the common goal of defending our father's land, not everybody abandoning their father's land to come to South Africa and then calling that unity. That is a misappropriation of what unity means. And that's what the globalists have tried to do. You see, guys, you got to understand the educational system, the current one with the curriculum that has been currently set, was not designed to create intelligent people. This is why even post colonial countries in Africa, they're still teaching in the colonial language. They're still got the colonial structures intact, with the syllabus intact, untouched, unchanged. They haven't created their own in their indigenous languages. That's a sign that tells you that those countries are not free. Those countries are not independent. They're still under the colonial system because remember, your settler or the colonizer doesn't need to settle in your country. He doesn't need to live in your country. All he needs to do is set up the structures, the colonial structures. And then what happens? Colonization runs on autopilot. He doesn't need to be there. He builds the schools that will brainwash the kids, builds the institutions like the hospitals that will make people sick by making them forever dependent on medication and vaccinations, etc., etc. Because the goal is not to heal you. Why would they want to heal you? Oh, they're trying to make money out of you. They're not here to heal you, right? They want you on medication forever, right? The system is designed to keep you going around this hamster wheel, forever working, 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 but not being able to actually make real progress. You feel like you're working to just barely survive. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to allow you to be free, to allow you to have extra time, extra cash to be able to build things. No, because you are colonized, including white people. You guys seem to, I don't know why people think that white people are like somehow exempt from this or that they're not colonized or that they're not enslaved. They are. They too are a part of the same system that's milking them, right? So that's why I said you guys have to stop looking at things in a black and white way. There's a lot more going on in this life. So yeah, like anyway, this Zimbabwean man is telling us the truth about how Zimbabwe's globalists or the political elites have the general population living in absolute squalor and poverty. That's why half of Zimbabwe is in South Africa. Zimbabwe is empty. You can't live in Zimbabwe, right? Why? Because the men have ran away. The men are supposed to be the line of defense in the country. If the men run away because they're scared of the political leaders, if the men run, who's going to defend your land? Who's going to sacrifice their lives to fight, to defend the land that their fathers handed over to them and said, hey, you take care of this? If you run away, who must stay and fight? That's why I think you guys are very strange, man. The modern man is just a weirdo, man. Like, you guys don't understand honor. You don't understand integrity. It's like you guys don't understand what it is to live a life with honor. Yours is to run away as soon as things start getting tough. What type of man runs away to go see greener pastures in another man's land, to reap where you did not sow? There's nothing honorable in that. You're supposed to create your greener pastures in your father's land, not run away and then take that as a token or symbol of success, the fact that you made it to what another man has built. Have you no shame? Where's your dignity? Where's your pride as a man? Some of you guys, the way you're so desperate for money, you will get it anyway. You don't care how you get it. You get it in dishonorable ways, and you're proud of yourselves because you feel like, yeah, I cheated the system. No, you cheated the community. You cheated the society. That's what's painful about it. In you trying to cheat the system, you did your own people wrong. You did society wrong. You did the community wrong. That's why you get no respect from us. That's why here in South Africa, we don't have this thing of worshiping people just because they have money. Some countries like Nigeria, they don't care how you got the money. To them, it's like it's a symbol of success, just the fact that you have it. No matter how many people you unalived, no matter how many lives you harmed, we cannot respect what people call hustlers, people that come to sell powder in South Africa and then tell us, why don't you fight the YT man? Dude, you're selling powder to our children. Our children are supposed to be the ones we're radicalizing to stand up to the system. They are the life force of the revolution. So if you guys are selling powder to what is supposed to be our life force, our military, how are we going to fight the so-called YT man that you want us to hate so much? It's a contradiction. You can't tell us go fight the YT man while destroying our army that's supposed to fight the YT man. You understand? This is why, guys, Nigeria, countries like Nigeria, the walls have closed in on them because nobody's believing their deception. Nobody's buying what they're selling anymore. Like everybody sees them for what they truly are. So they're not able to scam people the way they used to do it. This is why you find them trying to dissociate themselves from the Nigerian identity because they still want to continue scamming, but they know they can't do it as easily as they could before because now people know that they're Nigerian. So what they are doing now is they're stealing other people's identities. So they'll call themselves Ghanaians, they'll call themselves British or American, they'll speak in an American accent, British accent, but he's a pure 100% Nigerian. Same tendencies, same criminal tendencies are still there, but now he's trying to rebrand himself by using an accent, by using a different passport. But the criminal element is still there, still alive and well in him. It's who he is. But he's hoping he can pull a fast one on you, right? Because the world has caught up to the Nigerian scam. We see them for who and what they really are, which makes it hard for them now to get away with deceiving people, right? But it's a shame that Africa is being defined by the character of Nigerians because Nigerians are quite possibly the worst example you could use of what a man is supposed to be, because they are runners. They run. The men, guys. Then they want to convert it to, oh, we're traveling. We're just explorers. You're not explorers. I can't, TikTok is gonna ban me. But there's a word, and it's the opposite of brave. When you run away from your homeland to go see greener pastures, you're a leech. You're a parasite. Create your own pastures. Make them green where you are. Stop running. Stop making it other people's responsibility to take care of your kids because you don't have capacity to take care of them. If you can't take care of them, stop making kids. Stop making babies. You can't just keep making babies with no plan for parenting and then make other countries responsible for raising your kids. That's being a parasite. And African men need to become brave and stop the cycle of running from the challenge of fixing and developing your own countries. Let's do better. Let's do better, guys. We can. See, I talk like this because I know that we have the capacity to be better and to do better. Right now, the world does not respect African men for good reason, because we haven't shown any signs of wanting to develop our father's land. How many more centuries should Africa be looted of its resources and minerals? We're out here complaining, talking English in parliament, talking English on social media, speaking in British and American accents to show how traveled and educated we are. But none of you are on the ground where it really matters, fighting the good fight, standing up to these corrupt systems, showing heart and showing bravery, risking your lives. Instead, you are seeking greener pastures, pastures that other people have watered. Other men have built infrastructure. Man, it's the worst thing when I hear African men talking about, oh, this country has good infrastructure. Yes, it was built. You could tell that, guys, we might all be humans, but we all haven't evolved to the same level. We're not all evolved to the same level. Oh, no, absolutely not. Some are just more evolved than others. That's just the truth. It's not even trying to be funny or anything. It's just some are just more evolved. That's just the reality. Some are more evolved than others. Some cultures are more evolved. Some cultures are just better, more developed than others. That's just a fact. You can't say we're all equal. Equality doesn't exist, guys. Let's be honest. There has to be somebody who's better than somebody else. To say, we're all equal, to try to create a structure that forces equality, we're joking. Someone's going to be better than someone else. Yo, that's it. Yeah. So, sometimes when I do TikTok lives, I'm also streaming on different platforms, other streaming platforms. So you'll find that you don't have an opportunity to like interact or go back and forth for us to actually chat. But there'll be other times where I do those types of lives and I open the panel. But anyway, guys, find me this Zimbabwean man. Let me play it one more time. Just refresh your memories of why we're here. A Zimbabwean man telling the truth.
Well, Zimbabweans, this is the economic situation in our Zimbabwe on ground. The economic situation which is paralyzed by the economic policy which is called the ZIG policy. A ZIG policy which they lie that it's a currency which is backed by gold, which is a big lie. The currency is never found in these streets. In these streets, the only man that circulates is the US dollar and the rand. The ZIG is nowhere to be found. The Zig policy has actually destroyed the industries of Zimbabwe. There is no production in the industries of Zimbabwe. What is left are these imports. Everything we are seeing in this, almost everything, is imports from South Africa. Chicken cuts, some snacks, be it potatoes. Everything you see here is imports from South Africa. Our Zimbabweans are surviving on this small economy. This is the same Zimbabweans. When we are outside, we say South Africans are nothing. They are helping us with nothing. As we survive, and we depend on them to such an extent. So that's why I'm saying, fellow Zimbabwe, instead of attacking South Africans, we must actually uniting. We must actually be requesting South Africans to assist us in this plight home, and to assist us in speaking out against these ills of the economy of Zimbabwe, so that this government, it's either this government reforms or either they step down democratically as enshrined in our constitution if they have failed. Section 59 guides for demonstrations if ever our economy is destroyed like this. This is the same government which is extending the term limit for Mr. Mnangagwa. They want to make sure they remain destroying this economy. As you know, them are busy investing with the Chinese, taking all the minerals, and they're taking these minerals outside, the raw materials outside of our Zimbabwe, impoverishing Zimbabwe to this level. They tell you that they are for Africa. They are not for Africa. They are actually selling Africa to the highest bidder. So that's why I'm saying the youth of Africa, the youth of Zimbabwe, this is the time you must take charge of and be in control of your own country. We start by speaking out against the ills which you see.
I have to pause there just to spend some time talking about how he says that Zimbabwe is being sold to the highest bidder, and how the Chinese are in, and the government is selling parts and pieces. They're exporting, sending out raw material. This is happening all over Africa, guys. Your governments, the greatest trick that was played on you was making you believe that your governments are there to serve you, because all these political structures that have been created are there to give you a false sense of security so that the men don't do their job of protecting the homeland. Guys, men cannot be saying things like, no, that's the government's job to do. No, guys, your government is failing you. Create your own parallel governments, your own systems, your own police force, your own security. Now someone says, but then, oh, it's against the law. Don't be a dummy. You think these laws are there to protect you? These laws are there to protect these politicians, to instill fear in your hearts, to ensure that you guys never do what you're supposed to do. Basically, as a man, they've given you a convenient excuse to never be brave. This is what I'm telling you guys to stand up to. You've got to stand up if you're a man. African men, stand up. Stand up for your country. Why am I saying for your country? Look at all the Nigerian men that are living in South Africa. You've abandoned your father's land. You want to pretend that, oh, you started a family with a South African woman, you're making babies. No, your father's land is crying and calling out to you to go do your job. Do what you're supposed to do, which is defend your land. Because how are you going to live? Everybody is going to be at some point fighting the good fight against the globalists. That time is fast approaching. You're going to be displaced. So you're gonna fight the battle here in South Africa instead of in your village where you're from. Zimbabweans, you're gonna be fighting the fight here in South Africa, fighting on whose side, whose camp? Because we're gonna be fighting against the globalists. Who are you gonna be fighting against? You're gonna be fighting South Africans? Like your guys' priorities are all over the place. You don't know who you represent and what you represent because you've abandoned the primary purpose for your existence in this life as a man. You have run away from that. You have abandoned that. It's a shameful thing. You cannot abandon that. So, this man is calling out this globalist agenda that Africa is being sold piece by piece to the world elites. And what are the men doing? Running away, chasing after Nyash, coming to South Africa looking for a woman to impregnate so that you can use the baby as a passport. Come on, man. You guys have no shame. You got no shame. Is this your legacy? You want to be remembered for running away? Of course, your children are too young to understand how unbrave. I can't say the C word. I want to say "ca." I want to say that word. I can't say it because TikTok, man, it'd be issuing warnings for ridiculous things like saying that word. So your children, when they grow up, are going to realize, man, my father was not brave. He ran away. And when times were tough in his homeland, his father's land, instead of protecting it, he ran away, made babies all over the world with women from other countries, trying to give and create a new identity for you out of being unbrave, as opposed to fighting the good fight, creating greener pastures, standing up to the government. What kind of man are you if you can't stand up to your government? The government is also a bunch of men, calling the shots, and you're basically conceding. You're conceding and saying, yeah, these men are more powerful than us, and they're not. They're not. They're in the minority. They can't arrest all of you. They can't unalive all of you. There's not enough prisons for them to unalive all of you all at one time. They can't do it. The problem is you guys don't love your cultures enough and your countries enough to put your life on the line. You guys don't love enough to put something on the line. You'd rather escape and run away. What that shows is a sign of a man who lacks discipline, who lacks integrity, who lacks self respect. A man that loves himself, loves and respects his culture, stays in his country, fights the good fight, and either gets unalived while trying or comes out victorious on the other side. Those are men that are worthy of honor and respect, dignified men, principled men. The type of men that exist today, the modern man is a runner. He runs, seeks greener pastures, chases after opportunities instead of creating them. How many of you have moved from your village where you've got ample land, farmland, and food security? You've ran to the CBD, to the city, to live in a shoebox apartment where you're being overcharged for rent. How many of you have ran away from the grind of developing the land that your fathers left you with, to improve it, to develop it and make it better, right? It starts with you guys creating curriculums and syllabus that educate your people in their culture, their identity, and in skills that can help to develop your land. Instead, you guys are quick to join foreign cultures' educational systems or sign up for foreign cultures' educational systems to be indoctrinated with the slave mindset that they need from you so they can extract your labor. Right now, these elites are building AI robots, merciless unalivers that will form part of the military and police, that will unalive without question, without conscience, without thought. You guys have no idea what's coming. When I tell you guys you need to be brave now, it's because I understand what the agenda is. These politicians and presidents that they're installing all over Africa and have been installing are for the purpose of ensuring that you, brave man, never rise up to take your place as a leader in your community, in your society. That you're constantly seeking greener pastures. And we're getting to a point now where there are no greener pastures anymore. It's only green where you water it. So you got to make a decision about what type of man you want to be. And I like speaking primarily to the men because the men have a responsibility to their communities. You guys think being a man means being tall and strong and going to the gym? I mean, guys, just go on social media. You look what the modern man is doing. The modern man is doing get ready with me's on TikTok. The modern man thinks going to the gym for aesthetics is what makes him tough. The modern man thinks shooting social media content at the shooting range with the gun in his hand, that's what makes him tough. He doesn't know what it's like to be in the heat of battle where you actually have to use that gun. You'll see these guys posting videos of themselves at the shooting range. But ask him, would you use that against your government? If they gave you the opportunity to use that gun against Mnangagwa, against Tinubu, against Ramaphosa, would you do it? You wouldn't. A lot of you don't have the guts to unalive somebody. Unaliving for a good cause, not for a stupid cause, an actual, real cause that can make people's lives better. You guys don't have the guts to do that. You don't have the guts. You guys, a lot of you are not brave men. A lot of you are opportunists. A lot of you are runners looking and seeking greener pastures, things that are just not respectable. The modern man is soft. He's feminine. He has feminine tendencies. Walks around with a purse. Walks around with these luxurious. I mean, you guys even shop like women now. You've got time to really spend shopping for your clothes. The modern man is there, worried about his style and his clothes and how he looks. Can't fight, can't use a weapon, not military minded, not disciplined. You understand? Is a slave to sexual intercourse. That's why you guys develop these weird fetishes and unhealthy, weird, mentally distorted, perverted sexual desires for children, for animals, for corn, for grapes. No discipline, unhealthy desires, abnormal desires. You understand? So this man is speaking out to the Zimbabwean youth and saying it's time to stand up and fight your government. And remember, I told you, why are most youth indoctrinated with Black American culture? They think life is about smoking, drinking, hitting the club, getting the bag, posting social media content, and being lit. They've got nothing to live for. They live to go out to clubs, listening to hip hop, trying to sound American. I mean, you find African youth trying to speak in American accents using the slang. Complete and total identity crisis. When I look at African youth throwing money in the club, sitting in VIP section in a dark place with shades on. Where do you guys learn this? Obviously from Black American music videos. You guys have no substance. You have no knowledge base, no substance, no skills. You can't cause revolutions with your skills. Your skills are just to be slaves. But you think you've arrived. You have not arrived, young man and young woman. You guys have a long way to go. And you don't see how far you are from where you need to be because you are being validated by likes and reposts and retweets on social media that make you think and feel like you've arrived. When in reality, you haven't even started, you haven't left. There's a lot of work to be done, and this revolution is going to require the youth to take up their positions and fight the good fight, to be radicalized, to be knowledgeable about Agenda 2030, to know that the type of future they're leading you into is one where you will have no freedom, one where they will vaccinate to reduce populations en masse. You guys are living for the moment. You're not thinking about your futures. Defend your homelands, young men. Protect your father's land, young men. There's honor in that. Stop being led by your sexual desires, perverted desires. Watching porn. This stuff has been made free with the intention of destroying your lives. Now, everywhere you look, you see that our young women have become porn stars. It's been normalized. Selling, bobacha, has become normalized in our society. Things that used to be shameful in the past, now people are getting paid to do. And because they're getting a bag for it, they think it's something honorable. Because, hey, at the end of the day, I can afford all these expensive products. They've raised a generation of consumers that can produce nothing, but that consume everything. They produce nothing. They cannot produce. They cannot produce anything. Theirs is to consume, consume, consume. It's this unhealthy cycle of consumerism, of buying things you can't afford that add no intrinsic value to not only your life but to society. But thinking that because you can afford these things, that somehow that makes you lit. Nobody is coming up with inventions within our communities that are changing our lives. There's no ways we have a water crisis. There's water everywhere. There's water underground. But there's a water shortage, electricity shortage. So why did the youth go to school? If these problems persist in 2026 and they can't be solved, even though we have so many educated young people on big salaries, but that can produce no solutions when it matters most. That means the educational system is broken. The educational system has been designed to ensure that we are giving people a bunch of qualifications and degrees and certificates, but that the people themselves can't create real solutions that factor into reality. So I hope the Zimbabwean youth is listening to this man who's telling them that it's time to respond. It's time to stand up and be counted. Make your voice heard. If you have a social media account, make your voice heard. Create communities starting on social media of people who are like-minded and start tackling the problems in your country and coming up with solutions and standing up to the globalists. Don't allow them to bully you. Don't allow them to force you out of your country. This immigration thing and this xenophobia narrative does not even have to happen if you guys were brave enough to stay in your countries and fight for the futures that you guys want, not the ones that the politicians are forcing you into. You understand? Yeah, I think I'm going to end this video here. It's been a long stream, but I had to get that off my chest and let you guys know that we're all in this together. Big ups to this Zimbabwean man who's telling the truth that South Africa cannot carry the burden and the problems of all African countries and then be labeled as xenophobic when we say that we can't and this burden is too heavy for us to carry. Fight in your own country. Let's all play our positions. It's a team sport. There are different positions. Just because I'm playing a defender or a striker or on the wing doesn't make my position less important. The objective and the goal is still the same: to topple the power structures that are oppressing us in our respective countries. And we have to do that as a collective. That is unity that I'm willing to get behind. That is unity that makes sense because it's unity that has honor, bravery, and a common goal. And that goal is to ensure the freedom of our people from these nefarious globalist plans. It's time to stand up and be counted. Stop running. African men, stop running. Running is not the solution. Seeking greener pastures, not the solution. Stand up and fight for your country and demand your rights in your father's land. Until next time.